chunk of the piece is organized around a jiuchi called beta. Ich, ni, so, re, tere, su, su, tere, su, su, tere, su, tere, su, su, tere, su, su, den, su. Chudaiko players have to play this too. Your kuchishoga is so, re, toro, su, su, toro, su, su, toro, su, toro, su, su, toro, su, su, don, su. As with the alpha G, keep the teres even and don't squish the notes together. I think I'll make a separate video with some drills at some point. Even though this G is easier than alpha, sometimes I get pulled off course by what other players are playing. So we're going to use the pineapple, shake it trick to make sure we know which of these downbeats we're hitting. Remember, you only hit the pine and the shake, like this. Pineapple, shake it, pineapple, shake it, pineapple, shake it, shake it. For this G, you're hitting teres on the pine and the shake, except for the very last one, which is a ten. So it sounds like this. Ich, ni, so, re, pineapple, shake it, pineapple, shake it. If we sing it with all the subdivisions, here's what we get. So, re, tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 ten, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 ten, suku, suku, suku. Let's play 4 betas. This would go along with theme, but you don't have to worry about cutting off the ending. Ich, ni, so, re, tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, 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 tere, suku, suku, suku. Third time. Last time. Chudaiko players only have to play this beta G quietly. However, Shimedaiko players have to play it quietly and also quite loudly as well. They're going to be playing it along with theme. So let's hear what that sounds like together. I'm going to sing theme with the theta BD tag because we'd be going into beta drive. Ich, ni, so, re, cons, 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 kara, don, con, su, su, kara, su, doko, don, su, con, su, karas, cha, su, karas, don, su, doko, 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 don, don, doko, don, doko, kara, doko. The beta drive, Chudaiko, and Shimedaiko parts are kind of intertwined, so it's best to just learn them together. The whole section starts very, very loud, and it decreases to as quiet as possible over the course of about 10 lines. There's really only 2 rhythms, and you can kind of think of this as like deconstructing the rhythms. So the main rhythm goes like this. So, re, doko, kara, doko, hop. So let's sing it twice. So, re, doko, su, karas, doko, su, karas, doko, su, doko, su, karas, doko, su, karas, doko, su. So the first time, it's played in unison with both the Shimedaiko and the Chudaiko. So the Shimedaiko would be playing so, re, deke, su, karas, deke, su, karas, deke, deke, su, karas, deke, su, karas, deke. So that's the first 2 lines. The 3rd and 4th lines now are going to be split between the Chudaiko and the Shimedaiko. So the Chudaiko is going to play the deke, and the Shimedaiko is going to play the karas. And the last pair of hits are played by both. So the Chudaiko part sounds like so, re, doko, doko, doko for one of the lines. So if I want to sing that twice, it's sore, doko, 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 doko. Now, if I want to do the shimedaiko part, it sounds like this. Sore, deke, 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 deke. Notice that the shimedaiko is actually playing what used to be kara, playing it as a teke. So when you put that together, it sounds like sore, doko, teke, both. Doko, teke, both. So that's the second 2 lines of Beta Drive. I'm going to play the first 4 lines of the Chudaiko part together, apart. Remember that this is going from very loud to very soft, so I'm going to decrease in volume as I go. Shimedaiko part, sing along your part. 1, 2, それ. Now let's play the shimedaiko part, the first 4 lines of Beta Drive, together, apart. Chudaiko, sing your part along with us. 1, 2, それ. For the third pair of lines of Beta Drive, the shimedaiko doesn't play anything at all, but I think this is a good opportunity for kiai, for movement, interaction, and things like that. What the chudaiko player does is they actually play the same thing that they played for the second pair of lines. So they play sore, doko, 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 doko. It's just that there's no shimedaiko filling in the teke, there's nothing filling that in. So it sounds a lot more deconstructed. For the fourth pair of lines, the rhythm is Beta-ji, and both the shimedaiko and chudaiko play it. But of course they're playing it quite quietly because it's nearly at the end of the section. For the last pair of lines, the shimedaiko plays nothing, and the chudaiko plays Beta-ji all by themselves. To be clear, Beta-ji is 2 lines long. So that means that the shimedaiko player in this Beta Drive section only plays the Beta-ji once through, whereas the chudaiko player plays it twice through, once with the shimedaiko player and once alone. One last thing you need to know before a playthrough is that for the chudaiko part, coming out of theme, the theta BD tag is actually the same as the first line. It's sore, doko, kara, doko. So the last line of theme from the chudaiko part sounds like don do kon ko don, doko don don doko, kara doko. And for the shimedaiko part, they will play Beta-ji without any changes. So they'll play sore, dere, su, dere, su, dere, su, dere, su, dere, su, den, su. Beta Drive from the last line of theme. 1, 2, それ. Beta Drive Shima part, starting with the last line of theme. 1, 2, それ。はい。ささささ。ほっ。There's a transition from beta drive to QRSTs. Everybody sings the beta jiuchi under their breath one time. I usually use the Chudaiko Kuchishoga for it. Sore, doro, 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 don. In recent arrangements, players have been changing bachi and changing drums during this transition period. Even if you're not transitioning, I think you can really make this moment a focal point of very high tension. Maybe just a single voice singing, or everyone singing, or suddenly throwing the attention to one person at the end with the last don. Sometimes I actually play that very last don as the Chudaiko player before beginning QRSTs. This transition is a valley. It's the rock bottom between beta drive and QRSTs. It's as quiet as we get. So whatever you do during this section, please don't click your bachi together or make too much extraneous noise. A few footsteps or rustling of fabric is okay, but just be really mindful because everyone's paying attention and it's really quiet at this moment. As beta drive went from loud to quiet, QRSTs will grow and grow and grow to as loud as possible. Each line in QRST is named QRS or T. QRSTs was actually a t-shirt printing company in Massachusetts that I was a frequent customer of. The first time Q is played, it is played alone by the Chudaiko. So it goes sore, don, tsu, dorotsu, don, dorotsu, don, doko, don, 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 doko. Let's do that again. 1, 2, それ、ドン、ドルツ、ドン、ドルツ、ドン、どこ、ドン、ドン、ドン、どこ. For the sticking, I'm going to demonstrate it on the Shimedaiko because Shimedaiko is going to be playing it next. So it goes 1, 2, それ, right, su, su, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, a left, a right, su, su, right, left. The Chudaiko will play Q twice. First time, it'll be very quiet. The second time it'll be a little louder. The line itself has some room to grow in terms of dynamics, so you can increase the volume a little bit over the course of the line and then drop it again at the beginning of the next line. We'll play Q twice. It'll go 1, 2, それ, don, su, su, dorosu, don, dorosu, don, doko, don, 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 doko, like that. We'll play twice. 1, 2, それ. The shime player can play a little bit louder than the Chudaiko player. So the first time through, we don't play anything. The second time through, we play 1, 2, それ, don, dorosu, don, dorosu, don, doko, don, 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 doko. Overall, with the dynamics of Q, I think you can listen to the line and play around with it and do something that sounds beautiful to you. You can check out some of our videos to see how we've done it in the past, and you can also take a look at the Google spreadsheet with the Kuchishoga to see an approximation of what I think I'm doing when I play this line. The call and response of Q was started by the Chudaiko, but the call and response of R will be started by the Shimedaiko. So the Shimedaiko plays 1, 2, それ、す、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、ten. So those tsukus you play. The sus you don't play. I'm going to raise my hand so that you can see when I don't play. 1, 2, それ、す、てれすく、てれすく、てれすく、てれすく、ten. 1, 2, それ、す、てれすく、てれすく、てれすく、てれすく、ten. それ、す、right, left, right, 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 left, right. The chudaiko player will join in on R the second time. However, the chudaiko player doesn't play the tsukus. The chudaiko player only plays the big hits. So for the chudaiko player, it goes like sore, su, dorosuku, 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 don. You notice I didn't say dorotsuku, I said dorosuku. So this sounds like sore, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. For R, I play the sequence of hits with a crescendo, not all the way to the top. I leave myself a lot of headroom, maybe from like a 3 to a 7 out of 10. For the shimedaiko, I just focus on playing consistently. R times 2, first time we don't play anything. 1, 2, それ、す。す。R times 2, shime. 1, 2, それ、す。Chudaiko form note on line R. Even though you're playing quickly, try not to T-rex it. Keep your arms really extended far away from your torso. And even though you're starting off playing quietly, you can actually make the motions quite large. Don't make it too small and puny. Really stretch. Make it exciting. This is a very high tension line and it looks really beautiful when you do it that way. For S, the shimedaiko continues to play the same thing that it's been playing for R, the su, deresuku, 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 denzu, times 2. The chudaiko will take the teres and turn them into dons. So the chudaiko part will sound like sore, dons, cons, dons, cons, don, times 2. So the chudaiko part, both lines of it together sound like sore, dons, cons, dons, cons, dons, dons, cons, dons, dons, con. And as you can hear from how I'm singing it, each of those is a crescendo. Overall, we're getting louder and louder. I'd say by the end of the second crescendo, we are at max volume. There's one more crescendo left, so energetically you want to leave a little bit of headroom. So for line T, we have this double long crescendo. 1, 2, それ、dons, cons, dons, cons, dons, cons, dons, con, don, 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 don. So you see we also have the sore, don, con ending. For the shimedaiko, you'll play those dons as teretsukus, just like you have been this whole time. 1, 2, それ、す、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、ten. Then, gens, dance, gens. Let's practice shime line T. 1, 2, それ、す、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、ten. Then, gens, dance, gens. For the chudaiko, lines S, S, and T, the sticking is very similar to what happened in the end of Abacus. So the first line, we want to maintain the right, left, and the second time you play S, you can do whatever sticking you want. And then finally, when you play T, again, you can do whatever sticking you want and try to make it epic. For the shime, note that every time that the chudaiko is playing a don, you should be playing teretsuku. Chudaiko lines S, S, T. This is an example of the sticking you can use. 1, 2, それ。 everyone. Try to stitch it together for yourself now. QQ, RR, SST. Go. Go ahead and pause the video and try to see how much of it you can remember. Hi, welcome back. Thank you for humoring me. I promise this will help you. Let's go over the shime part first. For the first cue, you don't play anything. For the second cue, you play along. And then for RR and SS, you play the same thing. So a total of 4 times you play the following. Sore, suteretsuku, teretsuku, 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 ten. So you play that 4 times. And then for T, you play the extended version. Sore, suteretsuku, teretsuku, 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 ten. Ten, tens, tens, tens. All right, now the judaiko part. First cue, you play 1, 2, sore, don, dorsu, don, dorsu, don, doko, don, 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 doko, times 2. Then for the first R, you wait for the shime daiko to play it first, and then for the second R, you play your simplified version. 1, 2, sore, su, dorosu, 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 don. And then for S and S, you play the even more simplified version of that, which is dons instead of doros. 1, 2, sore, dons, cons, dons, cons, don, times 2. And then for T, you play your big epic crescendo with the don, dons, don, don tag at the end. 1, 2, sore, dons, cons, dons, cons, dons, cons, dons, con. Don, con, don, con. And of course the sticking on that can be whatever you want after the first S. In case you're counting, there's 8 dons in the epic buildup, or 8 teretsukus for the shime daiko player. QRSTs. 1, 2, sore. Shime QRSTs. 1, 2, sore. Lastly, we have the intro oroshi section. The shime daiko plays an oroshi, and the judaiko plays intro, except it gets stretched further and further out. The first 2 lines you can play at normal tempo. Just about halfway through the 3rd line, start to delay each hit more and more. The oroshi is fast to slow, but all loud. Similarly, when judaiko plays intro, it's all loud. Okay, so we want to put it all together. Themed beta drive QRSTs and oroshi intro. Please take a moment to think through all of that for your respective part. Pause the video. Hi, welcome back.
Thank you for humoring me. I promise this will help you.
All right, we'll do the Shimedaiko part. Chudaiko part, please sing along. Starting with theme 3. Shimedaiko part. 1, 2, それ、てれ、てれ、てれ、てれ、てれ、then, hop, てれ、てれ、てれ、てれ、てれ、then, hop, てれ、てれ、てれ、てれ、てれ、then, last time, てれ、てれ、てれ、てれ、てれ、then, てけからてけからてけてけからてけからてけてけてけてけてけてけてけほっほってれてれてれてれてれてん口しょがドロドロドロドロドロドンthen, dance, then, dance, then, take it, dance, dance, then, take it, てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、then, 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 てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、てれつく、then, can, dance, can, roll, 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 roll. Yay! Chudaiko part. Let's play through all of these. Shimedaiko, please sing along. All right, Chudaiko part, starting with theme 3. 1, 2, それ、ドンツ、コンツ、ドンツ、からドン、ドン、ドンツ、コンツ、から、どこドン、コンツ、ドンツ、コン、ドンツ、から、から、チャ、ドンツ、コンツ、から、ドン、ドンツ、コンツ、ドンツ、どこどこどこどんどこんこどん、どこどんこん、どこからどこからどこ、どこからどこからどこ、どこからどこからどこ、どこどこどこどこどこどこどこどこどこどこどこどこどろどろどろどろどろどんどろどろどろどろどろどん口しょがどろどろどろどろどろ hit this one ドンドンドロスドンドロスドンどこドンドンドンどこドン Dors, don, dors, don, doko, dons, dons, don, doko, dorosuku, 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 don, dons, 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 don, dons, 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 don, dons, 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 don, don, cons, don, con, dons, cons, dons, caca, dons, cons, dons, caca, dons, cons, dons, caca, dons, cons, caca. Yay!